AI, artificial intelligence, has some dangerous connotations, right? So I like to reframe it not as AI, but IA, intelligence augmentation. And I think we're gonna see IA infuse all elements of our life. It's gonna infuse everything from a physician standpoint about how I do a smarter workup and diagnosis. And when I figure out a condition you might have, I'll be able to do a much smarter, more cost-effective, and more timely therapy. Given how many mistakes we have, how many misdiagnoses we do, how big a problem medical mistakes are, I think AI or IA can play a really impactful role. It'll be something you have embedded in all your smart devices that will help track your health and give you empowerment as a consumer and a patient to take care of your own health and that of your family. And it's already starting to happen with Watson having gone to medical school. We can access the API for Watson with our mobile devices. They're partnering with the Apples of the world and the Medtronics. And I think it really has the opportunity to shift healthcare from the practice of medicine to the real science of medicine. So robotic surgery, even remotely, isn't science fiction. Companies like Intuitive Surgical have had advanced surgical robots for over a decade. They require often the surgeon to be there in the booth doing the procedure. It's even been demonstrated that that can happen across the planet. The real opportunity as we kind of fuse AI, imaging, sensors, is in some cases for some of these robotics to become semi-autonomous, to de-skill advanced surgeries so that in a remote village with the right robotics, maybe a local country doctor can facilitate and enable more of a complex surgery that could never happen based on where the patient may be, whether it's on space station or Mars or in remote India, for example. So robotics blended with AI, blended with analytics and smart imagination, I think can really transform health.
One of the biggest issues confronting the world today is the impact that we human beings are having on the planet. Human beings are flying the planet, but they're flying blind. And flying blind is very dangerous.
There's a poem by Philip Larkin where he mourns the current state of the world. And then he says, but at least somewhere there'll be a clean ocean untouched by humanity that will always exist. We are poisoning the last wild environment that we had. We receive a lot of our food from the ocean. It's the basis of the environmental system. We need a solution to creating or recreating the clean oceans that we had. Now there's some really interesting experiments that you might run. You could put algae back in the ocean. There are a bunch of things that we could do. No one wants to run these large geoengineering experiments on a real global scale. What you want is to run them in simulations. And AIs might do that in a way that you could at least begin to experiment with and gain large public support for.
The main problem that we have right now is that we don't understand how these systems work. Like ecosystems are very complex. Everything interacts with everything. And we don't know what the impact is of what we do, but with more sensors and better machine learning to build models based on those sensors, we can actually understand how a whole ecosystem works.
So with climate, we have the problem that some people are modeling how the ocean currents work. We have other people who are modeling the reflectivity of the ice caps, but we currently don't have a great way to merge all of these independent models together and be able to actually understand it as a global system.
So we have more sensors, we have more data, but now we need to use that to have models of how ecosystems function, how different species, down even to individual organisms interact, how the things that we're putting into the atmosphere change the climate, etc., etc. And then we can actually do the following thing, which is we can simulate an ecosystem on a computer, and then we can see what are the impacts of doing different things. And then we can do those things that actually, for example, give us the most gain for what we want while minimally impacting the ecosystem. And we also, for example, use it to understand which species really are important and which species are less important, right? Because at the end of the day, we often have to make hard trade-offs. And sometimes species that look very insignificant turn out to be very important because the whole ecosystem revolves around them. And sometimes species that are very, that we're very fond of because maybe they're cuddly animals that turn out to be less important. So what AI can give us is the ability to actually see a little bit further down the road so that we can actually make better decisions.